welcome to the Six Dorans Show. I am your host, Jacob Sminted Sanders, and today we are absent one member. So I am joined by just my co-host, Tanner Blitzerama Brelje. How you doing?
Hello, I'm doing well.
Yeah, Selceus won't be joining us tonight because he is deathly sick. So,
Deathly sick.
deathly sick. I mean, honestly, if you're gonna miss it, I guess you'd have to be deathly sick. I don't know. He said he wasn't feeling well, and usually he's done shows where he doesn't feel well, so I'm assuming it's a little more than normal,
We'll give him the benefit of the doubt, though.
which is
Hopefully
understandable because it is starting to be flu season.
that's true.
It's nearing the end of August, beginning of September. That's when everyone gets sick. Also, that's when everyone goes back to school. So
Yeah, I was gonna say. Plus,
why.
he's got like a couple kids, doesn't he? So like.
Yeah, it's when everyone goes back to school, and that's when everyone's germs start spreading together again. Anyway, so you know what? I wouldn't blame him for being sick. In the meantime, though, we are in the midst of playoffs for EU and NA. It's getting hyping down to the wire. So maybe not so much for EU because G2 is gonna win it, but well, we could still look at it, right? Because
I mean, there's points for second place.
I mean, there's potential for surprise as well. Like Fnatic could shock us and beat G2, right, or something like that. So
Yeah.
let's just deep dive into it then. So officially, our playoffs for EU is going to be Splice versus Rogue and Shulker versus Vitality, with G2 and Fnatic being our top two seeds. So to dive into a little bit of how that happened, though, it was a pretty wild weekend, I would say. Everything we talked about last week that wasn't likely to happen happened, like Rogue going 2-0,
Yeah.
that was like something. Sorry, that was something I really wanted to happen. Was Rogue going 2-0 and Origin going 0-2? The funnier part, though, is I said this is a meme, and I would have loved it if it happened, and it did. Was SK going 2-0 and Vitality going 0-2 to create the tiebreaker that I wanted to see, and it just so ended up happening that that's how it happened. So we had 4, 7, and 11 teams. Now, while I usually don't encourage that kind of mediocrity, I really wanted to see it just because I really don't like Origin, and I couldn't give a shit about Vitality.
Yeah, I was gonna say I had flashbacks to last year's NA end of the season when we had like a bunch of teams jockeying, but then at that point it almost just felt like it's the race to see who's not gonna be the absolute.
It was a race to see
trash.
who's going to lose to Team Liquid.
Yeah, pretty much. But like here, I completely agree with you. I remember last podcast I did say that I wanted, and not that I wanted to. Let me make that clear. I thought that OG was going to get through because they had like the veteran presence and some other horse shit that I came up with to think that OG was actually going to do anything. And this is just another perfect example of something I've been thinking about more. I need to really evaluate these teams by removing their name a lot of the times, because you look at Origin leading up to this weekend.
Oh yeah,
that
it was
they had.
total hot garbage. That's why
They were awful, and I got sidetracked by the fact that it says Origin right there. That says Noob Duck. That says Mithy. They've got to get in the playoffs, right? Nope. And it doesn't surprise me now because Origin looked like hot garbage coming into this, and I'm glad that Vitality, a team that does kind of feel like they're on a bit of an upswing, albeit not the biggest one. Schalke made it in. Obviously, we kind of expected that. But then Rogue, a team that has been like genuinely fun to watch and surprising this year. I'm really glad they got in as well. So while my prediction was wrong, I'm very happy that Origin didn't make it in because they were just going to get immediately shit on by whoever they played. So not too upset about that, honestly.
Gotcha. Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I'm not upset about it either. So, I mean, there was nothing shocking that happened this weekend. I think the only noteworthy thing is that Splice went 0-2. They lost their game to Fnatic, which I thought they would. Mm-hmm. And then they lost to Misfits, which totally eliminated any chance that they had of trying to go for the number 2 seed. They actually still somewhat controlled their destiny. If they beat Misfits, then Fnatic had to beat Rogue. But since Splice lost to Fnatic versus Rogue was very much a meme game.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you saw it or not.
I remember hearing some stuff on Twitter about it. I didn't have the chance to actually watch this game. I watched a couple highlights and a few of the just like the recap. But
so I watched it very live and at the gym, right? And there was literally a point where the event producers they show, you know how like at the end of a game they show the Nexus falling, they show a player cam and then them getting up to celebrate, you know?
Mm-hmm.
They minimized the in-game screen, showed a player cam, and the studio started playing the victory music, right? And the Nexus didn't go down, right? And they were expecting it to go down, and then Rogue got like 4 kills on Fnatic, a near ace. I think it was only Reckless escaped or whatever. So then Quick Shot was like, the game's still going. It's still going. Go back to the game, please. No victory music. The game is still going. It took them like a full 30 seconds to put the game back on full screen.
Oh my gosh.
Right, and Rogue defended the base for like another 2 minutes before they finally lost. But it was so funny though how like they automatically, like the studio put on the victory music, they were ready and everything, and the game was not over.
God, yeah. I mean, I know what they have to do because they got to try to do that to keep it clean. But like, I can't remember what playoffs it was. I think it was sometime. It may have been during Worlds a couple years ago when they had the base race. I think it with the Shy had something to do with it. The base race against, it was either Fnatic or G2, and they like had the camera like constantly switching back and forth, and then it panned out when nobody had won yet, and then nobody knew who won until like you saw, the rest of IG getting up and celebrating or some shit like that. So I
remember that.
Yeah, so I get what they have to do for that, but yeah, that's really fucking funny.
And the thing that happened like here was of other noteworthy was Vitality went 0-2 this weekend, right? So they had to play a tiebreaker against SK.
Did they? Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so they had to play the tiebreaker against SK, right? And honestly, I feel like, and we can like segue into the playoffs because of this. I'm not very optimistic for Vitality. They've been on a huge downswing after their small upswing, and then you go 0-2 in your last, few matchups. You go 0-2 against Schalke, who you're facing this weekend. That's not cool. And then you lose to Misfits, who I know beat Splice as well, but like in a do or die game, why are you losing to Misfits? So, I mean, for Splice, I want to give them the benefit of the doubt because even if they win, they have to hope Fnatic beats Rogue. Highly unlikely, right? Even in the meme game, Fnatic won pretty well-handedly. Like, Fnatic's just a better team, right?
Yeah.
So, I just don't have a lot of hope for Vitality. There's not, in my opinion, a lot of win conditions outside of, hey, Jizuke popped off and took over the game, right? I think that's kind of how it's been for like most of Vitality's wins. There hasn't been like a single time where I'm like applauding Kabashar or applauding like Mowgli or anything like that, or Attila or Jacktroll. I'm really just sitting there thinking, oh yeah, Jizuke was a monster that game, and that's kind of it. So, whereas when I look at Schalke, I feel like is like CLG light at the moment. They're a very complete team in what they do. They're not as good as CLG, but they're doing very well and they're playing as a complete team. Odoamne is doing fine. Trick is doing fine. Abadage has improved, and Upset and Ignar are a fine bot lane, right? Like none of these guys like necessarily lose their lanes. Maybe Odoamne occasionally, but none of these guys like flat out lose. They just like kind of go even, or maybe they have a small CS deficit or a small CS advantage. It's just a balanced team that goes into the late game and says, okay, we know how to control the map, and Trick is a jungler who likes to make plays around the map, and that's what they play around. I think it's pretty nice. I like Schalke's style. It's not flashy. It's good enough to win, right? It's not great, and thus, better teams like G2 and Fnatic punish early on for their, I don't want to say lazy style, but their laid back style. So I don't see them making it far in playoffs, but certainly much better than a team like Vitality, who seems to have, a chicken with no head unless Jizuke's popping off, right?
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I completely agree with you on the notion that kind of CLG light kind of attitude about them. Yeah, I mean, and when you look at Vitality, I just think, comparatively to Schalke, I just think that Vitality is making way too many overly aggressive plays sometimes that just aren't panning out, or it just doesn't seem like they know, like they don't really ever seem to have a really good game plan. And like we said, they did have that upswing, but I think that was, like you said, completely reliant on the fact that Jizuke had 1 or 2 games where he just went absolutely apeshit and and carried his team. I don't think that happens for the entirety of a series, though. You need the entire team to win in order to win these playoff series, and it just doesn't feel like Vitality will do that. I think I think Schalke has maybe a chance of dancing around Fnatic. Obviously I don't think they will. If they end up getting past Vitality, I don't think they will beat Fnatic, but I think it's definitely I think they have a better chance than Vitality, I guess is what I should say. Man, Vitality's just ass at this point. And that's kind of the sad thing too, because I think I'm starting to get in again with that naming for the teams. You look at the team name Vitality and you think, man, this is going to be really great. We're going to see some really interesting playoff level Vitality, and I hope we do. But after watching Origin kind of scramble and fail this season, I just don't think that's going to be the case for them either. I mean, it's disappointing, but at the end of the day, like you said, Schalke, I think, is just a more solid team all around.
For me, Vitality can keep their solo laners over the offseason. They need a new jungler in bot lane.
Yeah, that's fair.
Or if you want to keep Mowgli, you need a new bot lane. That's 100% what needs to happen, in my opinion. You need a new bot lane. If you don't really want to replace Mowgli and you want to see how Mowgli does with the new bot lane, sure, go for it. Mm-hmm. I don't think Mowgli's been the reason you've been winning, but he hasn't been the reason you've been losing. He's just kind of there.
Yeah.
Right?
That's fair.
So if you want to try a new bot lane, fine. But I think the bot lane has been a reason Vitality's not winning. So...
Plus, the other thing about that is, like, if you get rid of somebody like Cabo or Jizuke, Vitality itself kind of loses its theming. It's kind of, that's the style. Like, the style of Vitality is kind of built around guys like Cabo and Jizuke, and especially when they're on. And Attila I'm sure you could feel the same way. He hasn't really impressed me a whole lot this year. I think he's been okay, but okay isn't good enough, I think, especially for a team like Vitality. So yeah, I completely agree. Like, I think it's perfectly understandable to get rid of the bot lane, or if I wouldn't also be surprised if they do end up cutting Mowgli as well, because I think that's someplace that you could remove without having the fans absolutely go up into an uproar or something.
I agree. So I want to point out the cons for Schalke here besides general team play. I actually think Upset could have the potential here to absolutely pop off. Because I think he's a pretty good AD carry. He does have those occasional pop-off games. I also believe that this is a proving grounds for Abadage. He's had a great split for him, but an overall good split, right? A great split for him, an overall good split in general. And at this point, I think Jizuke is the perfect matchup for him. Mostly because I trust Jizuke to perform in a competitive do-or-die environment. I'm not saying Jizuke is going to be as good as he was last year, because last year's Jizuke was a monster that almost no one could beat but Perks or Caps. It was almost no doubt in your mind Jizuke was the third best. Maybe Nuke Duck, but in my opinion it was Jizuke who was the third best, no doubt. Mm-hmm. So, we're not at that level with Jizuke anymore, but I think for someone like Abadage, it's kind of like a prime meridian, right? If you can beat Jizuke, then you deserve to be talked about a little bit more, right? But if you can't beat Jizuke, you still have some room to grow. And this is only his rookie year, right? It's not his rookie split, it's his second split, but it's his rookie year, and if he didn't beat Jizuke, I wouldn't be mad at him. I would just say, all right, you improved this year, but your goal now is to be better than mid laners like Jizuke going into next year, right? Your goal is to be able to go up against the likes of Humanoid or Caps or Nemesis and not be a competition. Maybe you don't have to beat them because that's a tall ask to beat Caps or Nemesis or something like that, but at least be competitive to where you're not losing the game for your team against those kind of players. Because if you lose to Caps, if you let Caps go 2-0 on you, you've probably lost your team the game because Caps will 1v9 a game after starting 2.
Yeah, for sure.
Right, so, your goal against those kind of mid laners is just don't lose. You don't have to win, just don't lose.
Yeah, that's fair. Absolutely. Yeah.
So, that being said, I think I've given enough of my thoughts on Schalke versus Vitality, and I'm going to say Schalke wins this 3-0.
3-0, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't fault you on that one. Part of me just kind of has that gut feeling that Vitality will have at least one game where Jizuke plays like we expect, and maybe they're able to rally something. I'm honestly between 3-0 and 3-1 myself, and I think I'm gonna go with 3-1. And I think Vitality. I'll get specific with it. I think Vitality wins the first game off of a Jizuke pop off, and then lose 3 straight. That's kind of what I'm feeling about this because like. I mean, obviously, maybe it doesn't happen that range, but again, like you said, Schalke just looks like the better team, and not going to fault them for that.
All right, sounds good. So the next one is Splice versus Rogue. I'm a little sad about this matchup because I would have rather seen Schalke versus Rogue and Splice versus Vitality. Because if you ask me, Vitality's losing to either team, right?
Right.
Now, this is not me implying that Rogue beat Schalke, but I think Rogue versus Schalke is much more enticing than Rogue versus Splice. And the reason I say that is because Splice is just a way better team than Schalke. Mm-hmm. And if I already think Schalke is going to beat Rogue, I definitely think Splice is going to pub stomp Rogue, right? I'm already going to tell you my prediction is 3-0, but let's dive into like the team a little bit.
Sure.
You know, if we look at like how Splice has been doing all year in general, they have been more or less what I thought they would be in the spring. In spring, they were a 5th place team. But I expected them to perform better. I expected Humanoid to be better. I expected Norskaren, who was a great support no matter whether he was on Roccat or whatever. Like, Norskaren has always been, like, a shining spot on shitty teams. But now that he's on a good team, he's able to, with a good AD carry like Kobe, he can show it now. You know, Vizicache is Vizicache. You know, he's not king anymore, but he's still a good player. Humanoid has improved a lot. And Xerxes, he's a good jungler. So, like, overall, this is just a good team. And that's kind of what 3rd place should be, right? Not great, not okay. Good, above average.
Yeah.
And winning most of their games. And at 12-6, that's what you're doing. You're winning 66% of your games. So, in general, you know, compare this, you know, this roster, this experience, and remind you that a couple of these players have been to Worlds, right? And then you compare that to a team, you know, like Rogue, who is not 12-6. They are 7-11 going to this, so they have a losing record. But then B, you look at their players like Prophet, who has never had that much success, Larson, who's a rookie, and then, you know, their bot lane is like Hiku and Vander, you know, or Woolite and Vander. They were experimenting with that for a little bit, but lately it's been Hiku, Vander. And Hiku has like pop-off games. Like, he's the definition of boomer bust carry, AD carry, who more often booms than busts, and that's why they're 7-11. And I'm not saying every game that they won is carried by Hiku, but they are certainly doing better when Hiku is not busted. Vander's a generally good support who's been to Worlds before, but Prophet I think is just okay. You know, I think they could do a lot better than Prophet in the top lane next time. Inspired's been an okay jungler. He's been fine. I think he needs, you know, some more improvement because this is, you know, one of his first times on the LCS stage. And same with Larson. Like, this is just a team that has a lot of room to grow in their rookie players, but then in their players who are not rookie players, you can make some improvements by replacing them, right? Mm-hmm. Like if Vitality decided to let go of Cavachard, I'd say let go of Prophet, grab Cavachard, or something like that, right? It's very hard to find top laning talent in EU at the moment. Honestly, I feel like EU should look towards NA.
Yeah, I'm not Seems lying. Like we have an abundance of that.
I'm not lying when I say that, like, more often than not, I never think EU should import from NA, but I seriously think teams should consider importing from top lane in NA.
Oh yeah, there's like NA, we talked about this so much. There's so many good top laners in NA that just kind of get wasted away on bad teams. You know, like it's kind of nuts.
Yeah, so you know, it's just an inexperienced team is what I have to say, right, for Rogue, you know. And not only that, but like their experienced players aren't that great, like Prophet or EQ. So I'm not like trying to shit on them, but I'm trying to tell you like what they are. They're a 7-11 team, and should you expect them to be a 12-16? Not at all. I'm picking Splice 3-0 because of that.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I would agree with you. You know, even though Splice had a pretty poor weekend this last time, again, it was against teams that, you know, Fnatic are obviously seem to be better than Splice at this point. And then the loss to Misfits. I mean, Misfits has had their up and downs this season. It's not too surprising to see them take a game here and there. But yeah, I mean, we compared Shulk to CLG, as in calling them like the CLG Lite. I think Splice is pretty much the biggest equivalent to CLG that they have in Europe. And like you said, this is a solid team all across the board, 12 and 6. So I don't see Rogue getting too far in. I do think that if they kind of keep going down the path with like Woolite and Finn, and maybe just trying to experiment here and there, they might pull a game. But I don't see them having that kind of crazy potential to take one as against a team like Splice, as I did Vitality taking against Shulk. So I think I'll agree with you here. I think Splice is going to take this series 3-0. I think Rogue has a pretty good chance of making it interesting, but I think most of the results will go towards Splice.
I would definitely agree with that too. So are you agreeing with me then?
I would say so, yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. So that's it for pretty much our EU playoffs. The format for EU is a little different. For example, the winners of these two matches will go off to face each other next week. And we'll also get a G2 versus Fnatic play, right? And then, the loser of G2 versus Fnatic will face the winner of our assumption is Schalke versus Splice. And then the week after that, it'll be the semifinals, right? And then the week after that, it'll be the finals. So, just like how it was in the spring split. So, I don't think there's anything else I can comment. I thought there was. There really isn't. So I guess with that, we got Splice winning 3-0 and Schalke winning 3-1 or 3-0. We're pretty much not giving Rogue or Vitality a chance. I mean, we'll be watching these playoffs, but I certainly don't expect them to be any fireworks, and I may be doing other things while probably listening to it more than anything else.
That's fair. I mean, if Clutch showed us anything, which I'm sure we'll get into, we shouldn't count any of these teams out yet. But yeah,
I think the difference is Clutch was very much on a hot streak coming in.
True.
Vitality is very much not on a hot streak coming in, and Rogue is very much just I beat who I needed to beat.
They're warm. They're not like It's
I think they're just lukewarm. Not even warm. They're lukewarm.
That's fair.
So yeah. All right. Speaking of hot, let's go to NA because NA was hot this weekend. For those of you who didn't know, we got two spicy matchups this weekend. One that looked like it was going to be awful and ended up not being so bad at the end. And one that looked like it was going to be awful and ended up being hot. So let's get to the one that was like just okay, which was Cloud9 versus CLG. If you watched the first two games and the first 16 minutes of the third game like I did, you would have assumed Cloud9 went 3-0. Let me tell you something. Cloud9 gave an ass kicking to CLG in the first two games. It was murder. And I was so disappointed, not only in CLG, but because I was hyped for a best of 5 between two really good teams. And I didn't get that. Right? I quit 16 minutes and I was like, I'm done. See you guys later. I'm going to go spend time with my family. And then when I checked on the Discord 30 minutes later, for someone in our fan base, our show fan base, to say, hey, Sanders, they're going into game 4. I was like, what? What do you mean they're going to game 4? How did Cloud9 lose that? It was a 10K. They had a 10K gold lead. What the fuck? And then I went back. I looked at the highlights and I was like, Cloud9 royally fucked this up. And then I went to the middle of the fourth game, which was 12 minutes in, and CLG was winning, and I was like, not again. I hate Cloud9. Don't blow your 2-0 lead again. And they eventually did finish off the fourth game. They did beat CLG, but it was not easily done. CLG certainly didn't go down without a fight, which was pretty nice to see. And honestly, like how game 3 and 4 went was how I expected the entire series to be. But hey, I guess Cloud9 likes that 2-0 buff. It should be a meme now. Especially with the Team Liquid and they get reverse swept by Team Liquid, we should call it the Cloud9 2-0 buff. They automatically get those two games, and it's just a best of 3 from there.
Well, it's not even a best of 3 at that point. It's just like, hey, win 3, or else, it's It's done.
Because like the other team has to win 3, Cloud9 only has to win 1. Okay, yeah, I see what you mean. So, but like, I don't know, Cloud9 just has recently just been performing really well at the very beginning of a series, and then slightly giving away a bit. I mean, they held their own this time, but we'll see how they do next week against Liquid. But like overall, I felt like this was an exciting series. The one comment I have here is I thought Cloud9 in all 4 games, even though they lost game 3, in all 4 games, they came in with the plan. They drafted better than CLG, and they were able to have their way with CLG. I'm not sure if like what CLG's game plan was, but more often than not, I just felt like I knew what Cloud9's game plan was. I knew what they wanted to do. Their draft told me we're going to do this. They executed on it and they won, and CLG was choked out, right? Whereas when I looked at CLG's drafts, I was kind of like, so you have like 3 different win conditions with your draft A. B, the way you're playing isn't playing to any of those 3 win conditions. C, you're letting Cloud9 walk all over you and not even trying to complete one of your 3 win conditions. So I was very confused, like for the first, especially the first 2 games, and what CLG was trying to accomplish. Like, were they just going with like comfort picks and hoping they won lane, like win game kind of thing? Like, I had no idea. And game 3, I felt like they were just lucky that Cloud9 blew it. And then game 4, they were a little bit more competitive. But the most clown thing, in my opinion, I say clown for a reason. The most clown thing that happened to me really was I had 0 clue why you would send Power of Evil top. Like, can you tell me why you would do that?
Let's see. So, I was kind of thinking about that myself, watching that game. For the most part, I mean, I am definitely not, a coach, so I don't know kind of what they were thinking, but,
I don't think it was a coach thing either, because I thought about that. I'm pretty certain in that game too that the team decided, let's send Syndra top. I don't think that had anything to do with coaching, because it was kind of like a random thing that happened in the middle of the game.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think maybe they thought that it would be a good match. I mean, the only thing I can think of is like on paper, I think you could say Syndra has a decent enough matchup against Gangplank, but like I feel like that's kind of some solo queue level of of thinking. It's like, oh yes, put the range person against the guy who has some slight range rather than Akali. But like, I still would kind of, I don't know, I would trust Power of Evil more to maybe beat up on Niski, who's playing Silas this game, with this Syndra, with the range that they have, rather than and then just let Ruin kind of, farm it out up top as the Akali. I think there's a world where you can definitely just try to go even, at least, with Licorice, because it's not like you're playing against, Impact's Gangplank or anything. That, like, Licorice is pretty good on Gangplank, but I think there's a world where Ruin could probably hold his own. And I think, especially considering that how well Niski played throughout the entirety of the series, because he was named MVP, if I'm not mistaken.
He was. Niski was a fucking monster, and we'll get to that.
He was excellent throughout this entire series, and so I think it was really interesting that they didn't want to go for hey, let's just try to smash Niski in on this game. And even though I think Syndra is a really good champion to do that as against Silas, so I don't have a logical reason as to why they did it. I mean, outside of the fact that it's just the simplicity of, oh, Syndra could probably go even better with Gangplank top, or maybe beat Gangplank top, but then it's just like, oh, Ruin could maybe beat Niski, and that obviously didn't happen, so it was just kind of a really weird choice. For sure.
So the way I kind of thought about it was, this is the only justification I could come up with, and if this is what the team thought, then like, okay, that's what the team thought. But my only justification for it is you have Syndra versus Gangplank, which Syndra wins. She does win it. Licorice said, no, I win it. But on paper, Syndra beats Gangplank.
Right, for sure.
And I think part of that's Power of Evil just isn't top lane normally. The long lane isn't his game whatsoever. Mm-hmm. He's more to the short lane kind of player. The second thing is that you have the advantage no matter what with Syndro, right? Whether you send her against Silas or you send her against Gangplank, she's got the advantage, right? Akali loses to GP, but Akali actually is a skill matchup with Silas. So CLG may have been thinking to themselves, hey, no matter where we send Syndra, it's a win-win, right? So let's give the Akali the better matchup, right? And it's kind of like what they were talking about with like this. The funny thing about the Silas matchup is the casters are kind of right. Whoever has more gold wins the game because it's whoever has more AP wins that fight, right? And that sounds kind of silly, but when you have a champion who copies another champion's ultimate, so you have quote unquote the same kits. Who's gonna win when you have a quote unquote mirror match? The person with more AP, i.e., the person with more gold. Right? And I think it was kind of a feels bad man because when you watched Ruin, he did a lot of things to where like he should have like won it, right? But then Niski would do like a small side. Like I swear I think it happened 3 times. Niski escaped with like 5 HP, and I was like, that feels so bad as Ruin right there. Like you did well, you played it out well, and you still lost it. The only time I ever like looked at Ruin and I was like, dude, you totally fucked that up was when he went in on Licorice. Like Power of Evil and him traded back lanes because they knew at that point Akali could beat Gangplank. And when he went in on his E dash, he canceled the E damage with his second ult for the quote unquote execute, and like it didn't kill him. And I was just sitting there like, if he would have let the E hit and then done the dash, he would have killed him, which is weird to me as like a normal player. And I don't think about these things as a normal player. This is why I'm not challenger. But I wouldn't think to myself, I'm just going to use my E as a dash, forego the damage, and let my ultimate execute, right? As a player, I think to myself, I want as much damage as possible. I don't think that far ahead, thinking, oh, the execute will do it anyway, right? So it's kind of funny how I thought to myself, oh, normally what Ruin did there is the smart play. He just miscalculated that time.
Right.
And it's kind of funny how, like, I would never do that, but if I were in his shoes right there in that 5-second frame, I would have gotten the kill there. Because I would go through that damage normally and then ult and get the kill and get the hell out of dodge. So it's kind of funny how like these like next level thinking can actually like be the death of you and how you can overcalculate things. So I think a lot of that was just like feels bad for Ruin. Now, let's talk about Niski.
Let us.
I'm not gonna lie. If this Niski shows up against Team Liquid, Cloud9 has a very real chance of beating Team Liquid. This Niski, I don't care if Caps was playing against him. This Niski was destroying whoever was in front of him. And I don't say that lightly or for like shock value or whatever. I'm very serious if Caps was up against this particular Niski and these 4 games here. I don't even think Caps is beating this Niski. This Niski destroyed anything and everything in front of him. He had every matchup perfectly. He executed everything perfectly. He was fucking nuts. This isn't to like try and like overstate like, oh, he just had a good series and that was it. This is just like, if I see this Niski again, I'm betting on him to beat Jensen. If that Niski went to Worlds, I'm betting him to beat most of the mid laners there. Now that's a high ask because I've never seen this Niski before. This was the first time we've seen this Niski, right? Consecutively, at least. Like we've seen this Niski in glimpses, but not consecutively like this. But that's because a best of 5 is different from a best of 1s, where you don't as many chances to show yourself off. So like if this is like how Niski truly is, when he gets chances to play you consecutively and game plan for you, I'm all for this. I really want to see this Niski consecutively. Like, fucking awesome. And I don't want to, like, chop this up to, like, he was just better, like, mechanically than everyone else. Like, his movements, the way he went around the map, the way he took his leads, like, it's everything you want in a mid laner who's pushing ahead. It was very, like, I would say, in his prime, Bjergsen-esque. Right? Like, this is what Bjergsen did. Back in the day. Dominated his lane, roamed, got his other lanes winning, and you won because Bjergsen was fed. Right? And that's exactly what Niski did. Niski would be like, all right, I pushed your lane in, you can't do anything about it, I'm going to go help Licorice, or I'm going to go help Sneaky and Zazal. Like, this is exactly how you want to play it out. The secondary part to this, though, is Niski winning wasn't all Niski as much as, like, I said it was. More often than not, Wiggly knew that he had to help Power of Evil in the mid lane, right? And I felt so bad because Wiggly knew, like, oh, hey, I gotta help Power of Evil, right?
Right.
Who was there to show up for the counter gang? Svenskeren. Every single fucking time.
Yep.
Svenskeren was there. And I'm like, that just feels so bad. Like, you have this game plan to beat Niski. It works, and it is working, and then Svenskeren comes to ruin your party because he knows exactly where he needs to be. Or the other thing would be is that you would see Wiggly would be coming mid lane for the gank, and Svenskeren beat him to the punch, and Niski was dead before Wiggly even got there. So, just as Wiggly was getting there, Power of Evil was left on like 100 HP, right? So
right.
I think it was just very well played by like the duo mid lane of Niski and Svenskeren. So I don't want to overstate Svenskeren here because Niski did a fantastic job.
Yeah, Niski was definitely the high point, but
yeah, but Svenskeren definitely helped out with that. Without Svenskeren there, maybe it's not like monstrous. I think he can beat Caps pop off, like I'm saying.
Right.
Like with Svenskeren there, I'm definitely on that. Oh yeah, a little help from Svenskeren. Niski can take pretty much anyone at the moment. So, but that's one series. I'm not expecting that to happen against Team Liquid, right? I don't expect this Niski to happen again. If it does, though, I am fully on that hype train going into Worlds. If that makes like any sense whatsoever.
Yeah, no, I think that's completely fair. I mean, I think the entirety, not just Niski, but I mean, obviously since he was the big point, but I think the entirety of Cloud9 really did show up pretty well in this entire series. But yeah, Sven, I think, quietly still showing why he's still in the running for MVP for this split. I mean, there when he needs to be, helping the teammate that's clearly having the hot series, just keep getting ahead and keep going. So I completely agree with you. I think I was really impressed with Niski, like you said. This it's kind of amazing because you do see, like you said, this during the split from him. But I don't think we really saw this from him last season as much. Like in his series against obviously TSM, where they ended up falling victim to the reverse sweep. You just didn't really kind of see that level of play, level of aggression from him. So I was really, really happy to see this. And I think, I mean, I want to see him on the world stage before I'm ready to say, oh, he's going to beat Perks or not Perks. I mean, maybe he wouldn't even beat Perks, Caps or, guys like that. But I think there's a definite possibility that I'm scared. I guess I'll just stop beating around the bush. I'm a little scared as a TL fan because Niski looks dominant, and nobody else on C9 looks like the weak point. And especially coming off of the series against Clutch, a series where TL, I mean, maybe they were fucking around a bit, but a series where TL definitely had some weak points. As a LCS fan, I think this is going to be a really great split, or a really great series. I think this is going to go phenomenally, but in the way of the, I want to see TL crush these guys. I don't see that happening, which is kind of scary. But yeah, Niski was just absolutely fantastic, and I don't think there's much else to say. It's just Cloud9 looked like a team that deserves to be in the finals, for sure.
Oh yeah, I would definitely agree with that for sure. The one thing I will I can comment about like the Clutch thing do you want to go to that series?
Yeah, we might as well.
We might as well. Okay, so a comment like on Clutch here is, so when my uncle was doing this show with us, he often talked about like oddball teams, and he uses this quote for them every time, and I'm going to use the quote now because I think it's a perfect example of what it is. And it's a boxing quote too, and it's the best fighter in the world doesn't fear the second best fighter in the world. The best fighter in the world fears the most odd fighter in the world. And the reason that's a thing in boxing is because if you're the best fighter in the world, you're always going to beat the second best fighter in the world, right? You're never going to lose to him, right? But if you face the most oddball fighter in the world, let's say he's only the fifth best in the world, the reason why you fear the fifth place over the second place is because the second place fighter in the world probably has the same style you do. You just do it better than him. The first place fighter, though, has a completely different style from the fifth place, is not used to facing against that style. And that's probably why that fighter is fifth place. His fighting style is so unique and odd that you're not prepared for it, right? Like eventually your superiority as a fighter might kick in and beat him, but him throwing you off may just win him, that match, right? And that goes with the whole everyone has a plan until they get punched.
Yeah.
And because he has such an odd style and you don't know how to beat it, once he punches you, you're totally off your style and your plan, and you have now entered his realm of fighting, and he excels in that, right? It's how Vitality used to be last year. We used it to describe Vitality all the time. You don't fear, the second best boxer in the world. You fear. I really forget what it is. It's not the most odd, but that's what I'm coming up with right now.
Gotcha.
I'll definitely like search the quote to find it for a better thing. But that's like what Clutch Gaming is here. They're not like the best team in LCS. They're not even the second best team in LCS. They just come with a unique game plan and a unique style, right? I mean, part of that is Tanner time. I don't think we could ever not talk enough about Tanner time. I think what's so funny is like there were a lot of memes that like when Demonte was popping off, that a lot of people like had memes with watches and be like, oh, look at the time, and it showed Demonte's face on the watch. Tanner time, right?
Sure.
So, I loved the memes for it, and I loved like Demonte's pop off, and I think Demonte is truly evolving into something special in this league, and it's certainly benefiting Clutch Gaming here, right? Cody Sun is still quietly very good. So is Vulcan. Lyra's been fine. I'm gonna say again, fine. I really think they can improve at the jungle position, and Huni is providing his unique picks as well. Like no one fucking plays Rumble. No one plays fucking Rumble in the LCS. And if you don't ban it, you see Team Liquid got to see what happened.
Right.
They won game. I think it was game 4 was what they won with it, right?
Yes, I remember that. Yeah, they definitely had it in game 4 because game 5, all the casters and myself were screaming at the screen saying, "Ban Kiana, and you better ban that fucking Rumble, or else, like, I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do." But yeah, I mean, Huni's just a god on that champion. I mean, at the beginning of the season, he didn't look like it, but now, like you said, with the hot streak and kind of the way that Clutch is played, Huni looks like an absolute god on that champion.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and I got the quote now. It's you don't fear the second best boxer in the world. You fear the most unorthodox boxer.
Gotcha.
And that's what like Clutch Gaming is. They're very unorthodox. They're not normal. They don't play a style that anyone else plays in the LCS. They bring a very unique vibe to them, and they push Team Liquid to their limits. Now, does that say something about Team Liquid? A little bit, but I think it says more as to like how Clutch Gaming plays and how outside of teams like maybe 2, I think it would be hard for even someone like Fnatic to just straight up say, okay, this is how we're going to beat them, right? Because until you play against them in game, you don't recognize their habits. You don't recognize the things that they do to where you're like, oh shit. Because like Clutch Gaming does some things to where you're like, why would you do that? Like in your head, you're like, why would you do that? And for some reason, it works out in their way because that's just what they do. So, and not Tanner's, Demonte's pop-offs certainly help out with that. I also think Clutch Gaming has a certain ability to them that no one has like phrased or keyed in on at all, and I kind of wish analysts would talk about it. But I'm gonna give a football term to it, and it's they swarm to the ball. And what I mean is like in football, the swarm to the ball name is for very few teams. Not a lot of teams do it because not a lot of teams have the personnel for it. I'm lucky in the fact that I'm a Ravens fan, and the Ravens have the personnel to do this, and they've been known as this kind of team for the last 20 years because they're a defensive team. They've never been a very good offensive team whatsoever. And that's that their defense swarms the ball. Like wherever the ball is, whether it's being thrown to a receiver or the running back, the defense has their eye on the ball. They don't care whose hands it's in. It could be the best playmaker in the world. Every single member of the defense is there. they're attacking whoever has the ball. Now that's supposed to be the point of football, but not every player has the speed or the instinct or the ability to get to that. And for whatever reason, the Ravens are coached like that. The Legion of Boom from the Seattle Seahawks was very much like that 4 years ago. They swarmed. The Broncos no-fly zone when the Broncos won the Super Bowl. The Cardinals, it was something about the fly zone too. They had something like that too. I think it was Fly No More or whatever was what they called themselves or whatever or something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly.
The Cardinals had that too, right? In clutch gaming, when team fights come up, they swarm onto like 2 people. Like 4 to 5 players will swarm into 2 people. Normally that's bad because you don't want 5 members taking on 2. But the matter of the fact is when they do it, nothing else is going on at the map. So like clutch gaming is very good at reacting to things that are going on, and they swarm to a spot. That's why that Kiana ultimate that they talked about, I think it was a 5-man ultimate, right? That he got.
Yeah, I think so.
It was one of his highlight plays. It was against TSM. It wasn't against Team Liquid. But that kind of play, right, is exactly like what Clutch is so good at. And I'm just going to call it swarming to the ball because that is their ball. That is their ball, right? Like they see two people out of position and they're like, oh shit, 4 people, get them, right? They use their resources to take those 2, and they know that they then have a 5-3 advantage. Clutch Gaming is very aware about that. They're very good at it. And I don't want to say it's like they're good at picking skirmishes, because to me that's like not a skirmish. That's just a full-on, hey, this person's out of place. Let's punish them for it. So
right.
And like I said, they're very good at it. The one thing I will say that concerned me about Team Liquid, and I believe it was Game 4, is what the fuck were they doing when they TP'd 3 people top for Huni?
Oh, yeah.
When Clutch Gaming had Baron and they were going bot lane, I literally sat there and I was like, what are they doing? And then I literally agreed with Kobe the entire time. I couldn't side with Jat and I couldn't side with like Captain Flowers. Like they were trying to justify Liquid's actions, but Kobe was like, no, that is straight inting.
Yeah, I would agree.
He was like, if that happened in solo queue, would you flame your teammate for that? And Jat, trying to be the nice guy, Jat was like, I don't know. And then Kobe's like, no, you flame your teammate for that. You're playing Team Wicked. That was bad. That was inting. And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, I agree. Like, that was so terrible.
It was really, really weird. Like, I did the same thing as Jat. I tried to make the mental gymnastics. So it's just like, oh, maybe they're trying to 500 IQ it. No, they're not. No, they're not. It was just like such a bad... There were multiple times, I think, during this series. That probably was the worst one. But there were multiple times during the series where you'd watch what Team Liquid was doing, and for the most part it was good, and then something just horrifyingly just out there would happen. Like, you've got the package in from Jensen towards the latter half of one of the games where, I mean, obviously he didn't see Damonte in the bush.
I understood that play.
And you can understand it, but it was, again, one of those times when, as a fan of the team especially, your heart just stops. Like, there were multiple times during this game where, like, my heart just almost gave out because they were just making like plays that make you scream at your TV, what the fuck are you doing? And obviously with Jensen, it made sense. You don't see Tanner in the bush, so you're just gonna go in for him, try to blow him up, and then he got blown up. That's fine. But yeah, that teleport play was so weird. It was so odd because Team Liquid went from an incredibly clean game 1 to a little bit of a patchy, kind of odd game 2. And then an incredibly clean game 3. And then a little bit of a weird, patchy, teleport-filled game 4. And then game 5, which was still pretty clean because, they pulled out the Sona Taric. And they're, again, like one of the only teams that still does it. But for some reason, they're still amazing at doing it. So props to Double Lift, even though you could visibly see that he did not want to play Sona.
Oh yeah, he was just sitting there like, kill me now.
Yeah, there was like the great video cam of as soon as he locks it in, his head is just like immediately in his hands, and all of the memes on Twitter. That was great. But
he's just sitting there like, I want to play League of Legends and I don't get to.
Right. It was so odd, and I talked to one of my coworkers about this, and he kind of brought up an interesting point. I didn't fully agree with him, but he talked about how CG The drafting in Game 5, when it almost felt like CG forced Team Liquid into picking Sona Taric, like, because they knew, oh, you ban this, this, and this, switches over to Team Liquid, and they're more than likely going to pick Sona Taric. You expected them to have some kind of dive comp or like early game comp ready for the Sona Taric, and they ended up not doing it. And while I think there's some merit to that, at the end of the day, you know, I think Team Liquid, again, on that kind of strategy, if they're playing like Team Liquid should be, probably isn't going to fall victim to, you know, a draft strategy like that. It was an interesting point, but I hope Team Liquid, I guess my synopsis of this...
I'm going to say one thing before you, like, finish your thought.
Yeah.
I think your coworker's right, because it's exactly what Optic did when Optic had their 8K gold lane against Liquid a few weeks ago.
That's a good point.
They were playing Sona Taric, and Optic did a dive comp, and what did they do? They camped the shit out of bot lane and made double lift fucking useless.
Because, like, that's the thing. Like, we talked about this, and we were joking about it a little bit, but at the same time, there's a bit of truth to the fact. It's just like, everybody knows, this isn't a secret. Doublelift does not like playing Sona. So if you can make his life hell and dive the shit out of him and just tilt him into next year, I don't think Doublelift tilts that easily. But, like, you do that, and I think there's a pretty clear path for them to win. I'll admit, during draft, I kind of had those similar thoughts, and I was very shaky on whether this game was actually going to pan out for TL. Thankfully, it did, but I think there does need to be some improvement in the draft, and I think there does need to be some improvement in the planning. And like you said, Clutch has a very unorthodox style. Maybe you can't really plan for Clutch as well as you can plan for somebody like C9, especially if, you know, Niski's the hot hand, and you need to calm him down. But I think overall, even though I'm kind of bashing TL, I think I was just more impressed with CG at the end of the day.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
I don't know.
This came out of nowhere.
Yeah, this was a fantastic series. This is like probably one of the best series of the year when we're going to be looking back at it. And I was really impressed with them. And I really do hope sincerely that CG runs the gauntlet. I know it's not very likely because they do have to still face up against CLG and TSM, and let's not forget FlyQuest that actually kind of looked like they had some life towards the end of the season. You know, but I honestly do hope, because I think, like you said, I want to see a team like CG in Worlds or something like that. Like, that would be incredible to watch them go. Because, again, you know, they may not be the best team, but just the way that they play is so different from all these other teams. I think they have a chance, similarly to, like, my head immediately goes to, like, the Misfits of, you know, a couple years ago, or like we said, Vitality from last year, or things like that, where these teams just have an ability to surprise you, and I want to see that happen. But,
you know, I honestly, like, won't. I mean, we can get that when we get to the gauntlet. I honestly won't be upset if CLG or
no, for sure.
If TSM won, because I think TSM would get pups.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Like, it'll be interesting. If it had to not be CG, I think I would want CLG.
Yeah,
but I mean, I think the gauntlet is probably going to be like the most entertaining that it's been in a while.
For sure. I think there's like two teams that you like expect could win, and a third one you're like, oh, maybe if they improved TSM, you know, they could win it as well. But like, I think at this point, like, I'd be upset if TSM won no matter what, because I fully expect them to get pup stomped whether they improve or not. But like, Clutch Game for a unique dynamic, and CLG brings in, like, as I've said before, this incredibly balanced team that has a lot of styles and pretty much like plays a style that they think is going to beat a team. Like, they don't have a this is our style kind of thing. They have this is this team's style, this is how we would counteract it, right? Like, they're such a well-balanced team that they'll do different things with Ruin, they'll do different things with Power of Evil, like they did with something, it didn't work, something, but they're willing to try different things because their team is that diverse. So I like that from, you know, that fact that Power of Evil, and also like what Demonte and Uni provide to the Clutch Game as well. And also, Demonte is pretty hype when it becomes Tanner time.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, Demonte, I was talking earlier this season about how Demonte was one of those players that was stuck on a bad team. Obviously, since that team got a lot better now, we don't have to worry about that as much. But, yeah, he's turning into an absolute talent. I think in the future, especially if CG doesn't do anything this year, or get into Worlds or anything like that. I think there's more like. I think it's more than fair to say that CG is like going to be the most exciting team going into the next split, like regardless of what happens. So I'm really excited for them.
I could definitely agree with that. They will be one of the more exciting teams. So I guess while we're on the topic of Clutch Gaming and CLG, well, let's just go to their matchup, and then we can talk about the final. Mm-hmm. So the third place matchup that's going to happen is going to be Clutch Gaming versus CLG this Saturday, and then the final will be Cloud9 versus Team Liquid. For CLG versus Clutch Gaming, I have not made a decision to still on who I'm going to pick here. This is very tough for me. On one hand, Clutch Gaming took Team Liquid to the brink, and that should just automatically make me vote for Clutch Gaming. On the other hand, I really think Cloud9 just had their 2-0 buffer that they had, and then the real CLG popped up, right?
Yeah.
Like, they beat Cloud9 game 3, and they made Cloud9, like, really struggle through game 4, right? CLG gets some minus points because of recency bias, but I really don't want to forget, like, how good CLG has been overall, right? Mm-hmm. And I also don't want to forget how not great Clutch Gaming was for most of the season, right? I mean, I know this is where we're at. This is where we are now. Demonte has certainly improved. Cody's son is great and everything. But let's examine, like, you know, the actual crossovers. You have Ruin versus Huni. Like, who would you take there? Honest question.
I feel like that's actually tough. I mean, it depends. Again, I think Ruin is like, you know, a flat line of high productivity, and then you have Huni just. You gotta catch it. You gotta catch him on the right day. I think. I think if I wanted to build a stable team, I would pick Ruin.
So over the stability of 5 games.
True. Yeah. Over the stability of 5 games, I would agree that I think Ruin probably over Huni. I think I would pick a lot of CLG's members specifically over.
But then you look at, like, the jungle matchup. It's definitely Wiggly, right?
Oh, for sure.
You look at the mid lane matchup, and you're like, Power People's pretty good, but Demonte's a bit better, and I'll give that to Demonte, right? Especially if you give away Kiana. Like, fuck, you pretty much lost the game if you've given, you know, Demonte Kiana. Like, that's just that's one thing you need. Like, I feel like I'd be a person if I was a fan of anybody playing against Clutch, I'd have a fan that says, ban Kiana, please. Like, just don't even give it to them.
For sure.
Don't let your mid laner fool you into saying, oh yeah, I could beat him. Like, I would tell Team Liquid's coach, don't let Jensen fool you into thinking he can beat Demonte's Kiana. Fucking ban it.
Yeah.
And then I'd tell Coach Weldon, don't let Power Vivo fool you into thinking he can beat Demonte's Kiana. Fucking ban it. Right? So, like, that would be, like, my only advice that I feel like I could confidently tell them. You can't let this happen. And then in the bot lane, like, I really like Cody's son Vulcan, but I still think I give the edge to Biofrost Stixay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so, but I mean, like, it's not like Cody's son or Vulcans are pushovers whatsoever. This is a very quality bot lane. It's so weird because on paper I definitely give this to CLG, but part of me, like, thinks Clutch Gaming's been on fire.
Yeah.
Just took the first place team to 5 games, and even that 5th game was close, relatively close. So I honestly think I'm giving this to Clutch Gaming 3-2. I think I'm taking the hot hand here. I still think CLG is a more balanced team, and I think most of the time I would pick CLG, but I think this is the one time where I pick Clutch Gaming. But I think this is going to be a fiery 3-2 series. Like, I don't think CLG is going to, like, drop dead like they did against Cloud9. I really think CLG is going to have a lot for Clutch Gaming to handle. You know, the other side to this, you could say, though, if you wanted to argue for CLG 3-2, because I think this is a best of 5 no matter what, is that CLG could, I think, out of all teams, handle Clutch Gaming's volatility. Is that the word?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Or volatile style. I think Counterlogic Gaming would be the best to handle it, simply just because of, like, how Counterlogic Gaming plays. Right? They're a very reactive team. They're very comfortable in letting weird things happen in the game. Obviously, against Cloud9. They let it happen a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So, but to Cloud9's advantage. So I honestly think like CLG's style is very suited to being able to beat Clutch Gaming. I'm still going to pick Clutch Gaming, even though like almost everything on paper tells me I should be picking CLG. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, for me, I think this is the big thing that's sticking out for me. I honestly think that for most teams, banning like a certain champion here and there isn't really going to make a big deal to them. But I think in the case of Clutch, if CLG does want to win and win a little bit easier than Team Liquid did, I legitimately think that taking Qiyana and Rumble off the board more often than not could lead them to like just literally winning, because it's those games where, like you said, you test the waters. You say, "Hey, I can beat Hooney's Rumble. No, yeah, I can beat Qiyana on Damante. Like no, you can't." That's kind of the thing. Like these are these guys' best champions, absolutely no questions asked. And I think that would almost relate to Cody Sun's Sivir, but Cody Sun's Sivir isn't exactly like the most explosive thing in the world.
Dokla and Aatrox.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, again, like it's a similar issue with that. Yeah, like you give these guys these champions, and I think there's a very high, like their probability of winning goes up drastically, more so than any other kinds of teams that play like multiple champions at once. So I think if CLG goes in with that mentality, as simplistic as it is, and then is able to handle Clutch Gaming, I think that they should be able to take this 3-2. I don't have a huge amount of confidence in that because, like you said, Clutch Gaming is like really great to watch. They are absolutely the hot hand, and personally, I would like to see Clutch Gaming win. But I think, like you said, on paper, if they go in with the right banning strategy, I mean, Liquid kind of just showed them how to do it. And I think if they go in with that strategy, they can win 3-2. But I fully expect this series to be an absolute barn burner. Like, it should be a lot of fun.
I have a question. Will you be upset if either team wins?
Will I be upset? No, because I think at the end of the day, I do want to see CG succeed, and I'd want to see them go farther. But out of all of the remaining teams, giving CLG the best shot at, first of all, CLG deserves third place, I think, just as much as any other team, and I think they're probably even more so than Clutch Gaming based on their regular season split. I think CLG deserves the title of third place. But then going into that, because correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't the winner of this have a bit of an advantage when it comes to the actual gauntlet?
So the loser, basically how I've been doing it, is the loser of this plays FlyQuest. Gotcha. and goes through, the winner of this series and then TSM.
Right.
Okay. That's how this is going to work. Yeah. At least according to I could have sworn the winner of this actually is like the top of the gauntlet. We'll have to double check that, but someone else informed me that TSM has the highest because of their championship points, and I need to go back and confirm that.
For sure. But like regardless of that though,
either of these teams have to play each other. They have to play each other again, right?
Right. That's true. But I think it's fair to say that either of these teams, if they do end up winning this and receiving those points, are very deserving of the points that they get. So at the end of the day, I'm not going to be upset if a certain team wins. Like if this was like TSM versus Clutch and TSM ended up winning and TSM got higher seeding because of that, I would be a little upset. But I think CLG is a team that's shown that they do, like, they deserve to do well this season, and either team winning is not going to be the biggest deal in the world.
Yeah. And same question like for the World part. I actually don't think I'd be mad if either CLG or Clutch went to Worlds. I think
for sure.
I'd be happy with either representing us there.
Absolutely.
And I think Clutch Gaming actually would be just a little bit more fiery.
For sure.
No, specific. When I say this, I mean specifically in the play-ins.
That's a good point.
I'm talking specifically the play-ins. I feel like CLG would be really boring and just pub stomp 3-0. I feel like Clutch Gaming would be like really confident, and especially like Hooney would be like all about himself and be like, let me play this troll shit and see if it works, right? And then they'd end up like losing a game or two and make NA like really nervous. Like, are we really gonna lose to the play-in team?
Clutch that would be pretty funny.
Can you please not? So But I when it comes to like actual groups, I feel like CLG would perform slightly better than Clutch, but Clutch would like provide excitement anyway.
Oh, for sure.
So I feel like this is kind of how I feel about it. I feel like Clutch, like as a team, may not be ready for Worlds. Like it's one of those things where like they look really good going in and then they don't do well. That happened to Splice 2 years ago. Splice looked really good going to Worlds, and then they went 1-5 in groups. Granted, they were in the death group with TSM, RNG, um, the eventual world champion that year, Samsung White, and it was TSM, RNG, Samsung White, Splice. Right, like feels bad for Splice, and everything,
right?
Because they were in the group of death, but at the same time, it's like you look really, really good, and you went 1-5. So, I feel like that's how like Clutch Gaming would happen, but who knows? Speaking of the group of death, by the way, if Team Liquid were to win, it's very possible that a group could be Team Liquid, Fnatic, SKT, and Invictus Gaming, because Invictus Gaming is going to have second.
Jesus Christ!
Could you imagine that group?
That would be a very fun watch, but as a TL fan, I don't think my heart would be able to take it. Like,
as a TL fan, your heart would probably sink, right?
Yeah, for sure. Oh God, let's not think about that. Hopefully that doesn't happen.
Anyways, so moving on. Speaking of Team Liquid, let's go to the finals. Cloud9 versus Team Liquid. I'm gonna be a bit of a Debbie Downer here for just a couple seconds, and then I'll get excited about this final. I am not going to be as hyped about this final about everyone else because both Cloud9 and Team Liquid have made Worlds. So there is like no elimination involved in this. There's no risk involved in this. This is very much, in my opinion, more of a story finals than anything else. Like you should watch this finals for the story and for some good League of Legends. You should not be watching this to determine Worlds. You should not be watching this to determine like how teams are going to look going into the Worlds, because these teams are very much going to be playing for pride. Team Liquid is going to be attempting the very first 4-peat, and Cloud9 is going to look to get out of what is currently a 5 consecutive finals losing streak. The last 5 finals they've been in, they have all lost them in a very heartbreaking fashion too. Last summer it was to Team Liquid. They got 3-0'd. The split before that was the Jensen button when TSM went to no, it wasn't. No, that was TSM versus Team Liquid. What was it? Oh, that was the year prior. So 2 years ago, when Cloud9 went, it was the Jensen heartbreaker. He didn't press R.
Yeah.
Remember, it was like, I think it was 0.25 seconds off, like when they said his R button went through, and like Bjergsen like deleted him. So yeah, that was like the real feels bad moment. If he would have just pressed R, like Cloud9 wins that, right? 0.25 seconds. So like most of the and then another one before that was CLG versus Cloud9, where I think Cloud9 had the lead and then Double F pulled off this like really big bullshit Lucian carry. No, that was when Double F was on TSM. He did do it as CLG against Cloud9 as well, but the one I'm thinking about with Double F was when Double F was on Lucian with TSM, and Bjergsen ulted mid lane with Talia, and it separated 3 members of TSM onto one side, and Double Lift was on the opposite side, so he was super safe, so he was getting to free shoot the entire team of Cloud9. And the thing is, it looked like Cloud9 was going to win because the Talia wall trapped 3 of TSM's members, but in the midst of them destroying 3 members, Cloud9, Double Lift just destroying the other Cloud9 team.
Right.
Like even I think it was Freak was casting it. Freak was like getting really hyped for Cloud9, and then suddenly he was like, "Whoa, wait, Double Lift, pentakill!" And then like they ran it, Double Lift ran it all the way mid lane after his pentakill and like ended the series. And like again, very heartbreaking fashion for Cloud9. So they have not had an easy time in the finals lately, and this is their redemption arc, right? Like they haven't been there in a while. There's a lot of people doubting them right now. This is very much their time to say, you can't have the 4-peat, you can't have the record, we're going to beat you, right? Niski's on fire, Sneaky and Zazal are very much on fire as well. Like, this Cloud9 team as a whole is very much ready to kick your ass. And they have the best jungler in NA at the moment.
Mm.
Like there's so much going for Cloud9 here, right? But then on Team Liquid's side, it's Doublelift always comes out in the clutch, right? Jensen has been having great playoff success, which he normally doesn't have. And of course, there's things to fear like playoff impact. There's so much also going in Team Liquid's favor. Now, if you want to analyze this across the board, I'm going to tell you good fucking luck.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because, like, if I look at Licorice versus Impact, I'm like, well, who shows up that day? Does playoff Impact show up that day, or does playoff Licorice show up that day? And if they both show up, I really couldn't tell you who to pick. I think the only like certain answer I have is like I'm picking Svenskeren over Xmithy, right? I think that's the only one where I'm gonna say I think that's the definite one you should be picking. But if I look at Niski versus Jensen, I'm like, naturally I want to pick Jensen. But if that Niski from last weekend shows up, I'm picking Niski. So who shows up?
Right.
Right. And then, if I look at the bot lane, naturally, I really want to pick Doublelift and Core JJ. But if the Sneaky and Zazov that have been playing for the last couple weeks shows up, I really don't know who's going to win that. So there's so much like mystique and intrigue around this finals that still makes it worth watching, even though like I'm like kind of a Debbie Downer on it because like as like a casual viewer, I'm kind of disappointed that like there's no risk involved. But there's so much story and so many things that like I definitely you definitely know Sunday at 12 o'clock because the final starts at 1. At 12 o'clock the entire desk is going to be pulling the shit out of like Doublelift is undefeated in the finals for the last.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't stand it. Last year when they were just like they were forcing the like, who's the goat? Is it Doublelift or is it Bjergsen?
Yeah,
and it was like, and the whole time up until the point where the reverse sweep started, it was just like, oh yeah, Wild Turtle. Though. Who do you think the goat is? Oh yeah, it's Bjergsen, obviously, and everybody's like, oh yes, and then as soon as Doublelift starts, turning the clutch wheels, like shit just goes haywire on that stuff. So
yeah, right. And then, but they're going to be pushing the the Doublelift is invincible storyline, right? And then they're going to be pushing the Sneaky hasn't won in 5 years.
Oh yeah,
he's going to be looking for.
Yeah.
They're definitely going to be pushing that, right? They're definitely going to push the. I think the what is it?
The drought for C9?
No. I mean, they're going to be pushing that a lot, but I also think they're going to push the Niski Jensen storyline a lot.
Yeah, that's fair.
The reason I think for that is because they're both EU mids.
True,
right?
true. Plus, there's probably going to be that tinge of like getting revenge on Jensen kind of thing, or like vice versa, Jensen getting not revenge but closure against Cloud9, kind of something like that.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing I was going to talk about too. Is Jensen gets his can Jensen get his closure versus Cloud9? And the reason I say the whole Niski versus Jensen thing is not only the European thing, but this is Niski saying I replaced you, I'm going to beat you, right? Or it's Jensen saying you took my sloppy seconds, I'm going to show you why they're my sloppy seconds, or whatever it may be, right? So there's like a lot of storyline going on there. So when we're not normally a show that talks about storylines. But what else is there to like really go over for the series? Like, am I like incorrect in saying like unless you're a fan of these teams, like, kind of who cares because there's no risk? I'm like, am I the only one here? Am I just being negative?
I think if you care only about what's at stake, I think that's fair. But I think if you're a casual fan, this is a excellent these are two of probably the best teams in the league from the entirety of this year. Going up against each other right here, and it's going to be an absolute I feel like it's going to be a really intense series throughout. So I think there's definitely good League of Legends to be seen here. So it's not going to be one of those series where it's probably going to be a 3 and out for one of these teams and we can move on with our lives. I think if you're a casual fan and you really want to watch good solid League of Legends, this will be a good series for that.
I remember the last time Team Liquid was in a final. And I thought to myself, you know what? This is going to be some really, really good League of Legends, right? You know when that last time was?
Well, that would have to be last spring.
No, it wasn't. I actually expected Team Liquid to beat TSM 3-1, and I was wrong.
Okay. So you mean where it's going to be close?
Yeah, last time I expected it to be a best of 5 series. I'm like, this is definitely going to a best of 5. Both of these teams are great.
Was it TL's first time into the finals, I assume?
No, it was last summer. It was Team Liquid versus Cloud9. You know what fucking happened in that series?
It was a stomp.
Yeah, Team Liquid smashed Cloud9. It wasn't even close. Like, oh my god, like,
that's true.
I guess the only difference here is like the Cloud9 meme can't really go on, right? I think my favorite thing that happened after it's kind of funny. So if Clutch Gaming would have won against Team Liquid, all that would have had to have happened is if Clutch Gaming won, you know, the NA summer split, Cloud9 would have actually clinched on points, and Team Liquid would be the final boss of the gauntlet.
Interesting.
Fun fact. So I was actually wrong last week. That's why Team Liquid hadn't clinched yet. The one scenario was Clutch Gaming takes first and Cloud9 takes second.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That was the one scenario where Team Liquid doesn't clinch. Is Cloud9 takes second and Clutch Gaming takes first. Because I had to redo it again. Because I'm like, why haven't they confirmed that yet? And I redid it. I'm like, oh, one scenario, right? And
right.
Once Team Liquid beat Clutch Gaming, it actually cemented Cloud9 to
go as well.
Right?
Yeah.
So, because it doesn't matter like who wins here, the loser goes in on points. So I thought the funniest thing was once Team Liquid won, Jack, the owner of Cloud9, tweeted, he's like, I am sad to inform you that Cloud9 has now broke their 5-year streak of winning the NA gauntlet.
That's good.
Because they've done it for 5 years.
That's insane to think about, yeah. Wow.
Yeah, they've always been the kings of the gauntlet, right? Like, it was pretty much like if you were going to the gauntlet, it's...
Good luck, yeah.
Right? And the most memorable one was when Cloud9 was like 9th place, and then they had their jungler, and then they ran the gauntlet. They did 3 reverse sweeps in a row. You remember that shit?
I remember that shit. I remember the time that they just casually, like, you know, put Curse on their foot and then just stomped them into the ground on their way back up there. I remember, like, all of these things. I mean, they really are. I think if you want to talk about, like, one of the best teams overall in the history of the LCS, like, I think Cloud9 definitely has to be up there, just straight up because of, like, how well they've done in that.
They're also our best international team. They show up
absolutely.
They show up every Worlds, right? They at least make quarterfinals, and last year they made semis. Like, Cloud9 is one to count on for Worlds. So
for sure. Yeah,
I'm still hyped to watch this finals.
Oh, for sure.
Like, in the sense that I get to watch some good League of Legends, you know? So don't get me wrong there. But, like, a lot of me is just, like, I don't really care about picking a winner because, like, in my eyes, the winner doesn't matter.
That's fair.
Unless you're a fan. Like, obviously, if you're, like, a Cloud9 fan, you really want Cloud9 to win because you haven't had the taste of victory in years. Right? And if you're a Team Liquid fan, you're sitting here thinking, I want that fucking TSM record. You know, fuck TSM.
We want that 4P. You gotta finish the cycle of 4 that TL has been
if they get the 4P, it's so great with the number 4, right?
It's gonna be perfect. Yeah.
Who knew the number 4 would be such a blessing for you guys?
Oh yeah, I mean, you live with the curse for so long. Finally, you get some rewards here. So
you live and die by the curse. That's how it is. So yeah, I guess we should do a final prediction on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit. I really don't know. If someone put a gun to my head and was like, you had to pick, I would straight up look at them and be like, you probably need to shoot because I really don't know.
That's right. Fair.
I'm not gonna lie. A part of me really thinks I should be picking Cloud9 here for many reasons. There's so much to like about Cloud9. But what seeps in the back of my head is that Team Liquid historically owns Cloud9. I can't pick against Doublelift and Core JJ. What am I doing? I've always said the team. I've always said the team ever since CLG won their first split, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Outside of the Stixay split, so forget the Stixay split, right, where CLG went to MSI.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since the first CLG win with Doublelift, actually, you don't have to exclude that one
because then Doublelift retired for.
That's when Doublelift took a break.
Yeah, I saw something earlier today, and yeah, it is correct that Doublelift is technically a winner of 8 consecutive
Yeah, so never mind. Never mind what I was about to say. No, every single split the Double Lift has played as a starter, the entire split, he's won the fucking split. What am I doing? Team Liquid 3-2. What? All right, yeah, I know who's winning. Fuck it, whoever has Double Lift. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I do think this is a Cloud9 that's going to do really well when we get to international play, and I'm really excited to see them. And I just don't think it's going to show up against this Liquid team because, like you said, Double Lift is there, and I think Liquid has a better, chance this year of making a splash internationally. Not that any of that matters for this series, but I will say that, by all biases aside, I think Liquid will probably win 3-2. Is my assumption as well. This is going to be a really good series though, and I'm definitely going to be flying off of my couch a lot.
You know what actually is at stake here now that I think about it. If you lose, you have a very high chance of being in a group with G2.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So basically, fight for second place of the group is basically what you get.
Oh boy.
Goodness.
Basically, fight to not have G2 in your group.
Yeah, that'd be good. That's a good point.
Oh my god. So I think that's going to pretty much be it, right, from us? That's pretty much going to be it. That's our analysis on it. And it's 9:30. Nice. That's pretty good for us. There is one thing I would like to go over. Since Worlds is coming up, we should give like a Worlds update on what's going on in the world. And I'm going to talk about real quickly the teams that have made Worlds so far. So we know 2 of our NA ones, Cloud9, Team Liquid, both made it to Worlds. Good job, Team Liquid and Cloud9. We always knew you would, not make it. like honestly, did we expect Team Liquid and Cloud9 to not make it?
No, I don't think so.
No. G2, they made Worlds. Woohoo. Props to them. I mean, these are such obvious teams, right? That have made it. One that was super poggers that happened over last weekend was Team Griffin qualified for Worlds.
Finally.
Yes, finally.
Yeah.
The team that everyone has been so excited about. They always choke in the playoffs. Finally qualified for playoffs. Now LCK hasn't finished yet. But they will be soon, right? So, but Griffin's qualified for Worlds, so we know that is a team from Korea that will be there. Funnily enough, though, if they, I don't know what seed they're going to be, but the number 3 seed for Korea will be playing in play-ins this year. Remember that is
right, yeah, because China
that's happening. So when we look at seeding for Korea, we'll definitely have to keep an eye out on that. Not that I think a Korean team isn't going to get past play-ins. I feel like that's such a no-brainer that they would.
Hey man, Genji went 1-5. Who knows what could happen?
Yeah, I guess.
But still, though, I would still take that Genji over.
Yeah, I definitely would too. So, those are our 4. We only have 4 confirmed for Worlds right now. Technically, everything else is still up in the air. Technically, Fnatic may not make Worlds. Technically, SKT won't make Worlds. Technically, Invictus Gaming won't make it. Again, technically.
Yeah, so it's hard to imagine a world where that doesn't happen. But
it's hard to imagine where Invictus Gaming or SKT or Fnatic doesn't make it. It's hard to envision that kind of world. So.
To be fair, though, I think so far with these 4 teams, I mean, this is kind of shaping up to be pretty spicy Worlds so far. We're getting a lot of. I mean, obviously we've only got 4 so far, but from the looks of it, we're probably going to get IG, we're probably going to get SKT, we're probably going to get Fnatic. This is going to be loaded full of really good teams this year, so I'm pretty hyped for this.
Yeah, I kind of have to agree. I'm getting hyped for Worlds as well. So that's going to be it for us tonight. You got anything else?
No, I think that's good.
All right, so I think we covered it pretty well. Sorry if anyone's a super fan of Selceus, he wasn't here tonight. So
I'm a super fan of Selceus. I was heartbroken.
I always miss him as well. But don't worry, we'll get more of him right when TSM comes back for the Gauntlet.
Oh, for sure.
So from me, your host, Jacob Sminted Sanders, I am always joined by Tanner Blitzerama Brelje over here. Check him out on Twitch/Blitzerama. That's right.
Yes.
Twitch.tv/Blitzerama. Awesome. And he has a streaming schedule, so you should check him out. His baseball runs are cool. And his league streams. and his Hearthstone streams. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I guess with that, we will see you all on the Rift.
Go Team Liquid!